Hello y'all, welcome or welcome back to Case Can Probably Read. Guess what my name is? Just guess. You'll never get it. Today I'm going to do a thing that I usually do not do, meaning that I'm going to do a TBR video for the month of May. I usually don't do TBRs because doing monthly TBRs makes me feel claustrophobic and trapped. The act of doing it makes me feel overcommitted to reading a certain books in a month, and I don't read well when I do that. That's too much information. Anyhow, I don't do TBRs, except that May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and every May, Read with Cindy does Asian Readathon. Last year, I really wanted to participate in this. It was my second month on BookTube, and I planned to do it. I did a video for it and everything, and I just was not in a great place to be able to do that or to be able to do BookTube at the time. So I had to drop out. I've been waiting all year, very excited to get to participate in this year's Asian Readathon. So I'm actually really excited about the books that I picked out for this year and for the challenges that Cindy has presented. If you don't know what Asian Readathon is, basically every year Cindy comes up with 5 challenges or prompts to help you select books that are by Asian authors or are about Asian characters. Typically the prompts are very open and loose, and so it's very easy to pick books that will go with them. And in most instances, you can probably fill all 5 prompts with a single book if you just don't have a lot of time to read this month. I'm actually going to try and pick a different book for each prompt, and I think I might try and get in a couple more besides that because I've actually been saving some books for this for just the past couple of months. They've been on my want to read list, but I just haven't chosen not to start them because I wanted to save them for this. I'm going to link Cindy's Asian Readathon 2022 announcement video below. She also has included on that video, and I think I'll link that below too, a Google Doc that has all the information for the readathon this year, plus just a lot of really great resources for helping you find authors that are Asian, as well as just books that are in genres that you like to read. It also has a list of read-alongs that you can participate in this month if you're interested in doing that. So, I mean, it should be pretty fun. All I'm going to do today is I'm going to relate to you Cindy's 5 prompts, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be reading for those prompts. On a few of them, I've given myself more than one choice just because having choices helps me a lot. It makes me feel less hemmed in, and not feeling hemmed in or trapped makes me a more productive reader. So that's just for me. There is one more thing I want to mention before I go on, and that is that Cindy does include a twist in Asian Readathon, and that is basically you can combine prompts, meaning that you could fill multiple prompts with a single book. You can fulfill the prompts in any order that you want to. However, each book that you read towards these challenges, each one of them either needs to be by an author or feature a character that is of a different Asian ethnicity. So if you read 3 books to fulfill the 5 prompts, you could read one that's by a Korean author, one that is about a Sri Lankan character, and then one that is by a Filipino author, maybe. So they just need to be different to encourage cultural diversity. That already feels like too much talking. Let's do this, shall we? The first challenge is read a book written by an Asian author, and I've got 2 choices for this. The first one is Silence by Shusaku Endo. From what I recall, this is set in the 1600s. It's about 2 Jesuit priests from Portugal, and they go to Japan because their mentor priest They've heard a rumor that he has apostatized, and they want to find out if it's true or not. They don't think it's true because he's like very, very committed, very pious, and so they're very shocked to hear this. And I think it's a journey of faith. It was actually one of the books that I picked out to read for last year's Asian Readathon before I had to quit. So I really do want to read it. I'm probably the least likely to read this one though, because I have a feeling that it's the kind of thing that might take me longer than a month to get through and feel like I've really digested it well. Silence is written by a Japanese author, as is my second choice for this one, which is The Easy Life in KAMUSARI by Shion Miura. And as far as I remember about this one, it is about a teenage boy, I think, who's just graduated from school, and his parents sign him up for some program or internship where he has to go to like some very remote town. I think it's in the mountains perhaps, where he has to spend a year working and living. And he's from the city, so this is like a big shock to him. He really doesn't want to go, and apparently it's kind of more of a heartwarming coming of age story. So I'm excited to look at both of those. Probably of the two I'm more likely to read Easy Life and KAMUSARI, but I do want to have Silence as a backup just in case I decide to read that. The second challenge is read a book featuring an Asian character that is a woman and or older. And for this one, I've chosen American Soul by Helena Rowe. This is a memoir. Helena Rowe, I believe, was born in South Korea and came to the United States sometime during her childhood or adolescence. She grew up and became a doctor, I believe a pediatrician, and I believe a pretty renowned pediatrician and a respected professor of pediatrics. And as she came into adulthood and later, she made a choice to change her career. I believe she became a writer. So this I felt like would fit this pretty well, talking about an Asian woman character who, as she grew older, decided to make some different life choices. I'm actually really excited to read this one. I got it last month and I decided to save it for this instead of reading it right away. So I'm really looking forward to that. The third challenge is read a book by an Asian author that has a universe that you would want to experience, or a universe that is totally different from yours. I have two choices for this. The first one is Wicked As You Wish by Chupeco. I've actually been wanting to read something by Chupeco for a really long time. I think you can listen to this book on Spotify. It was listed in Cindy's Google Docs. That's one of the reasons why I picked it, because I thought it would be a good choice to kind of fill in when I'm driving. And I honestly don't really know what it's about, but I do know that it's a fantasy, which is really, really up my alley. I believe Chupeco is Filipino. And my second choice is To the Sky Kingdom by Tang Qi. And I also don't know a lot about what this one is about. I know that it is about gods of some sort and a fantasy world in which these gods live and possibly walk among mortals. But it is also a fantasy, which I am also excited to read. The fourth challenge is read a book by an Asian author that has a cover worthy of googly eyes, meaning that it has a beautiful or aesthetically pleasing cover. And for that one, I am actually going to read The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman. I don't know if you can see how gorgeous this book is. At least I think it is. I really love the designs on it. I really like this up here. Akshaya Raman is of Indian descent. From what I know, this is also set in a fantasy world. It follows 4 siblings in a country that depends on magic, but magic is running dry. And so one of the siblings is, I believe, the queen of this country, and she has to gather her remaining siblings together to go on a quest to obtain an item or something like that that will restore magic. So it's not just like a quest story, but it's also like a family story. I got this one in a recent book haul, like my only recent book haul, the only book haul I've ever done. And I wanted to read it when I first got it, which was like last month or the month before. But I decided that I would save this one for Asian Readathon, and hopefully it would fit one of the prompts. And I mentioned in my book haul video how beautiful I thought this cover was. So when I watched Cindy's video, I was like, this is the book for that one. I'm super excited to read this one. Moving on. And the 5th challenge is read a book by an Asian author that has a high rating or is highly recommended. All right, I'm going to interrupt right there. You are about to hear me call The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang the Love Quotient. And you won't hear me do it just once. You're going to hear me do it multiple times, like a real winner. So I could go in and dub over every instance where I missaid the title, or I could go in and add a text box, but that literally sounds like the definition of hell to me, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to make this blanket disclaimer right now that every time I say the love quotient in this video, I mean the kiss quotient. Very sorry, Miss Helen Hoang, that I missaid the name of your book. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. For this one, I'm going to read The Love Quotient by Helen Hoang. This one I actually got from Cindy herself. It was in one of her wrap-ups like a year ago or quite some time ago. And she had some great things to say about it. And I have heard it mentioned many, many, many times in other wrap-ups and reviews. And I just want to read it. So I made it fit and I'm gonna read it. I think it's about a woman who is like a very successful, either like a scientist or a mathematician. However, she's just not good at relating to, I guess, the opposite sex. So she hires like a male escort, I believe, to like teach her. Lately, I've just really been enjoying reading romances. They've been really fast to get through. One of the things that I really like about romances lately is the personal development that the characters go through that is kind of beside the romance. So like if they're working through some mental stuff, if they're working through some hangups that they have, if they're learning to be more assertive, all that stuff. I love those journeys. And I think that they're really well featured in romances, and just reading the blurb of this book makes me think that there's going to be quite a bit of that in it. So I'm super excited to read that one. Besides the ones that I picked for these 5 challenges, I have 2 more that I'd really like to get to or finish this month. The first one is The Silence of Bones by June Her. I've actually already started this one. It's like a young adult murder mystery, but it's set in Chosun, Korea. So like before it was Korea, when it was Chosun. And it features a female protagonist who is actually a damo, which was like a female police officer. They were like considered lower than slaves, but given that like their society was very bound by like Confucianist cultural practices, like men and women had to be very separate, the police force had to employ some women so that they could interrogate female suspects and witnesses for medical examining purposes, because they couldn't touch a female, deceased. And so I've already started reading it. I think I'm about like 10 or 15% of the way through it, and I really like it. It's really interesting, and I want to finish that this month, but I couldn't use it for any of my challenges because I already had something that was by a Korean author. So since June Her is Korean, I'm going to do that separately from the challenges. The other one that I would like to get to this month, if I have time beyond this, is The Other Man by Farhad J. Dadyburjor. I promise I looked up how to say it and I could not find a pronunciation guide for how to say the last name. So I'm very sorry, Farhad, for mispronouncing your last name. This author is Indian, so that's why I couldn't use this book for the other challenges, because I'm already using the Ivory Key and Akshaya Raman is Indian. But the other man, I believe, is a romance. I think it features a male character who is Indian, and I think he's being set up for an arranged marriage. And then somewhere in that he meets like a guy, I think that's maybe from South America, that he's like a tourist, and he ends up falling in love with him. So he has some choices to make and some things to discover about himself, and it looks really good. I really think I'm going to like that for some of the same reasons that I'm going to like the Love Quotient. So I really do hope I can get to that one this month. Anyway, I'm sick of talking and you're probably sick of hearing me, so I am done. If you would like to join me, I will try and leave that information below. I would really encourage you to go watch Cindy's video. It's way more informative than all of this. Definitely more succinct for sure. Anyway, if my brand of awkward appeals to you, please feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel, or follow me on social media, which I will list below. And until next time, maybe let me know what you're planning to read in the month of May. And if somebody can help me say Mr. Dadyburjor's name correctly, I would really appreciate it. It's no fun to have your name mispronounced. Bye!